okay, so what if you're on the other side of that, right? And say you are the guy and you're with your girl in downtown.
Yeah.
Oh, not downtown, just anywhere, all right? And there is a guy and he does somehow violate your girl, spit on her, shove her.
How's
whatever.
the girl been acting lately?
Look at this dude. But that goes back to the same point, though. You know, like there's also a pressure. Like if someone does something to your girl, you gotta take it even further. You know, and sometimes your girl's the one that be telling you to do that.
I mean,
so
I think Brian covered it. I mean, if it really comes down to that, then you got to think about you know how you're gonna get at him in another way.
I'm gonna choose to release you back to the streets now, lady.
But yeah, because if you don't do nothing, she's leaving your ass.
No,
you gotta understand that.
That's why I'm saying,
leaving
how good is she behaving at the moment?
What I'm saying is, if you got to his original point, meaning that if someone really comes at you in that kind of way, you just gotta wait your turn. Meaning that I can't do this on CCTV.
Yeah.
And I gotta just wait.
Is she gonna understand that?
That's not up to her because she's not the one putting it on the line. Man.
You let me know when you find a woman that understands anything.
Something a terrible thing happened in Orlando last weekend, downtown Orlando. One of the reasons, like my cousin hit me up for New Year's, like I asked him what he was doing. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going downtown." I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, you can go by yourself, man. I'm good on that, man." And a guy was murdered. A lot of people know him in the city of Orlando. And the reason I won't say his name, of course, a lot of people know, and you can look it up and things like that. But they're still investigating. But there's a heavily rumored story that is going on, and that led me to thinking, because what they're saying is that he got into an argument with someone, and again, this is a rumored story. I don't know this to be true, but it just goes to what I was thinking. And he was arguing with this guy, and this guy, had the lady with him, his girlfriend with him, and the argument got heated, and he spit on the girl, the guy's girlfriend, and that led to him being shot and killed and things like that, right? And so it led to me thinking.
Wait, the shooter spit on the girl or the deceased spit
the deceased.
On the girl? Okay.
The deceased. Again, heavily rumored. I did not know that to be true. It's not in the news, and I wasn't there. But and also, that's not even my leading point here. My leading point is, I wonder, as like a man, when you do get into an altercation, or when you see it about to be heading into an altercation, when is it time, and is there a time to just dip out? You know what I mean? And say, if you do have your girl there, or if you do have friends there, does your ego come into play? When is it really time? Because you have the ego at play, you have the testosterone at play, you got all these things at play, and we can sit on the sideline and we can decipher what should have been done or what should have been done. But like when you're in that place, what can be done. And also, we're in a place now where not too many people are just fighting and going home and watching Netflix that night. They're shooting. And even if they do fight, you beat this guy up, this guy might still, the guy that got beat up might go to the car and come back and shoot you just because you beat him up. It's a wild place now,
Yeah.
So, what do you guys stand on that? Is it, when it's altercation time?
My thing is, there's a guy on Jocko Willink. He's like one of the special forces guys. He's on a lot of podcasts now. Like, he literally said the first thing that you should do when a fight is coming is run. He goes, as long as you have freedom of movement, move away. There's nothing really to be gained. And that's a guy who could kill lots of people, probably has. And he's saying, like, at the end of the day, getting out of that situation and living another day is more important than, taking that out of your hands and putting it in somebody else's, whether it be ego or or whatever motivates you to continue and engage in that fight. Because they're unpredictable situations, and a lot of times they're situations that never end. Like, you have the fight, maybe you get the better of the guy, then he wants to shoot you, now you're walking around town unsafe or with security and all that, and you enter a realm that's just mentally and physically exhausting and draining. Tactically, purely tactically, a one-on-one fight is usually not a good idea. I mean, if you want to get rid of somebody, element of surprise. Walk away then, come back and fire later.
Hold on. I was like, where's he going with that? But,
Nah, I'm not gonna. Why would I attack you from the front when you're aware I'm attacking?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, and what you were just saying about like how, you know, if you run away, like I think there's also a culture where like if you do run away, especially if you're in that kind of lifestyle, you kind of get like that social pressure of like, why'd you run away? Like you'll get clowned and shit like that. Yeah. And like that's why a lot of people feel like they have to do something then and there.
For sure.
Because the noise and the Instagram post that comes afterwards.
But the thing is like, I mean, it's almost like read like Sun Tzu and stuff like that. Like that's not the way to do that. You don't want to attack strength. You want to attack weakness.
Yeah. There's no rules.
And so
in this
you're really
shit,
just
though.
kind of naive and stupid if you're going to allow ego or what other people are going to say about you dictate the terms in which you engage in a fight.
But that goes to his point and to your point, meaning that that's a higher level of thinking you're thinking about.
Well, I'm not here to be an idiot, Darnell.
I don't disagree.
I mean, hey, if the unwashed masses want to make bad decisions, I can't stop it.
I agree.
I mean, I'm here to try and educate.
Yeah, I agree because, I mean, that's why I avoid, confrontation at all costs.
Unless somebody calls you on the phone. Got some words.
Yeah, Twitter warrior.
I mean,
cussed out in Creole.
My personal opinion is, I avoid that stuff because I know that the extent that I'm willing to go. So that's why I avoid it, because I know that I don't want to put myself in a scenario to where I just had an incident not too long ago, not in terms of a confrontation, but somebody that I was with, and they were doing things that I thought was a little irrational. And I just told them that you need to stop doing that because you're going to put yourself in a scenario to where that I'm going to have to defend you. And if I have to defend you now, and for you it's okay because you're not really thinking that deep. But I know already that, and it was a guy walking around with a teardrop in his eye, right? And then this guy's walking around with a teardrop in his eye. And then this person's telling me how, that could just be fake. And I'm like, look, that could be fake. That could be. But the chance is not. And I know already if he's serious, then I have to now deal with that scenario. Yeah. And I know where I'm willing to go, but I don't want to go there because I have training tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I have my family. So if I have to do all this, people that are serious, they think like what you're talking about. Yeah. Those other guys who are not serious, someone spits on you, you shoot them in the face, now you're facing life in prison. And that's really what it comes down to. But most people that are leading that culture that Bryson's talking about, they don't think like the ones who are just going to be shooting people in the face and end up in prison. That's why they have other people doing that stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's really the reality of it. Yeah. And so that culture is led by, it's a foolish culture, but usually the ones that are pushing that energy, they think more like Brian's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you got Kinsley. Shout out to Coach Pink.
Always. Oh, yeah. He's I believe Kensley's Haitian.
Always best to leave.
Kensley Hilaire?
Yeah.
That's always best to leave. Got too much to lose. No, that's a good comment for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, so what if you're on the other side of that, right? And say you are the guy, and you're with your girl in downtown.
Yeah.
Oh, not downtown, just anywhere. All right. And there is a guy, and he does somehow violate your girl, spit on her, shove her.
How's the girl been acting lately?
Look at this dude. But that goes back to the same point, though. Like there's also a pressure. Like if someone does something to your girl, you gotta take it even further. And sometimes your girl's the one that be
I mean,
so
I think Brian covered it. I mean, if it really comes down to that, then you got to think about how you're gonna get at him in another way.
I'm gonna choose to release you back to the streets now, lady.
But yeah, because if you don't do nothing, she's leaving your ass.
No,
you gotta understand that.
That's why I'm saying, how good is she behaving at the moment?
What I'm saying is, if you got to his original point, meaning that if someone really comes at you in that kind of way, you just gotta wait your turn. Meaning that I can't do this on CCTV.
Yeah.
And I gotta just wait.
Is she gonna understand that?
That's not up to her because she's not the one putting it on the line, man.
You let me know when you find a woman that understands anything.
But can you imagine a way that you can actually leave that situation after you get spit on?
You know what I mean?
Like, what do you do? Like, just wipe that shit off and just start walking away? Or, I mean, you got to do something.
That's why a gentleman should have a handkerchief.
Oh, my God.
Shit.
I couldn't imagine that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how that de-escalates.
Yeah, you got to be bigger than your emotions when you're serious.
Exactly. Yeah.
You got to be bigger than your emotions. Yes. You got to learn. There's a phrase that talks about the man who holds the power is because he bends low enough to raise it. You see what I'm saying to you? So you got to learn to bend yourself low So in that moment, you got to be bigger than that moment to know you're going to come back and get that person. And that's really it.
That sounds like a lot of Martin Luther, man. And I got a lot of Malcolm in me. You know. Like a.
But even by the end, Malcolm had changed.
Yeah, he had changed, I guess, and
right before
friends.
they shot him.
Yeah, I know. So maybe he shouldn't have changed.
Stay dangerous.
But I like a one-on-one thing. I understand. I could be the bigger man. I could lead, even in front of a crowd or anything. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, man. You got this. Okay, I'm this. I'm that. Yeah, you got it. But but a girl in the girl scenario, that is different, man. I honestly don't know how I would react, and I don't think no one would until they get in that situation. But that is a different fucking
and
scenario.
There's like an element that you have to think about, like your protective instincts react at that point.
Yeah.
You're not even thinking about you, but like if someone attacks your little brother or somebody like this, like your immediate instinct is just to protect or do something. So like there's like that natural animalistic thing.
Which kind of goes to the point when you're talking about the guy you were with and he's acting irrationally, and then you felt, I may have a duty to protect this person.
It was actually a woman who was acting.
Okay,
yeah, who was acting.
Assume you're
around.
hanging out with a dude. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Little Gady, bro.
But yeah, I mean that's a fair point too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's complicated for sure.
You just shouldn't get in that situation. I mean, like you said, you're not the type of person that ever get in that situation.
No,
already why
no,
you're
for
thinking
real.
about that. But we're talking about people that they live a certain type of way that they kind of attract that energy.
But that's I mean, that's why like if you are that type of person and you live in that sort of way, I don't always have a lot of sympathy for it.
Yeah,
It
that's
just
true.
it's kind of like okay, this you project this way. And sometimes the chickens come home to roost. There was a guy, he was a couple years younger than me. He was an asshole. And I knew, like, from the days we were playing Pop Warner football, he was an asshole. And years later, like, I don't know, either late teens, early 20s, he got shot in the face and killed. And I was kind of like, good move. Like, we got rid of him. It's okay. Like, it's...
He always takes on a little, like, you think he's going to say something, and then he just goes straight to this.
We didn't lose anything of value in this transaction. We lost an obnoxious guy who finally, the chickens came home to roost for him.
Yeah.
Let's keep him Malcolm.
Yeah, I remember Brand Nubian's Lord Jamar, and he was talking about that. He said in the beginning of his career, they used to walk around with guns and do all this stuff. And he said at one point, he's like, dude, I just stopped doing that. Because he said, I'm not pushing that kind of energy. And he goes, I never had any issues. But he said, I know a lot of guys, they're walking around with all these guns. It's also a projection because you need to have all these guns because what you're pushing out. I always tell people all the time because, Haiti is known as a dangerous place. But I don't feel endangered. And I'm in the real areas in Haiti. And I don't feel endangered because I'm not pushing that kind of energy. And I'm not saying something can't happen. And I'm very aware of my environment. But at the same time, I'm not pushing that kind of energy. So I don't feel like I'm going to bump into people that I somehow find the good inside the environment. I'm not finding those people that are attracting that. And if it does come, like I said, you got to be smart enough to understand. You got to read the scenario and know that is this time to act or is this time for me to fall back and I need to act later. If it's that serious.
Yeah. Reading the scenario, that's a very good point. Because even in this situation I'm talking about, like, if it's a stranger, you don't know this person, like I'm not having a heated argument with anybody, especially a fucking stranger, and especially not long enough for you to even spit on my girl, right? If you mad, I fucking hit your car on the way out, or whatever, you think I'm staring at you, whatever the case may be, man. I'm just not finna engage in a fucking long argument with you. With anything can happen in the course of this time. So yeah, you're right. You got to read the scenario for sure.
But to the gun thing, and because that's one of my big things that I've talked a million about, not being a Second Amendment guy, but I think that when people are armed like that, it gives an energy, and it also fuels like an insecurity that you have these weapons that you have some deficiency that you're willing to use them about. I also think it's one of the major issues in with law enforcement. We have almost a militarized law enforcement, particularly in urban areas, and that mentality, they're taking the street armed to the teeth. Like that's different than taking the street without a gun. You have to behave differently. You have to move differently. And, when we arm ourselves, we're inviting armed conflict.
Yeah.
At some point, you have all the arms. Something's got to happen with them.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody, and I know a lot of people with a lot of guns, and I've never seen anybody with a lot of guns thinking that I just have these guns as, you know, just they always feel like something is going to happen. My father grew up in the inner city, in a rough inner city kind of life. And the reason he said he didn't carry a gun is because he realized when he carried the gun, he always felt like I may need to use this gun. Yeah. And that's actually why he stopped carrying it, because he said that it just gave me this thing like, well, I'm carrying this for a reason. Yeah. Compared to where if he has a conflict before, he's just going to get into words or whatever it is. And he was pretty hot-tempered. But he said that's why he stopped carrying it, because he knew I'm going to use this eventually. Yeah.
And I think that's interesting when you talk about, like, people want guns for, like, robberies and stuff like that. And maybe the robber has a gun. But if you have a gun and you pull that gun out against the robber, someone's dying. Yeah. If you have no gun, you're just getting robbed. But if you have a gun, too, then someone's getting shot. And you kind of have to trust your instincts. So also got to think about that.
And my other big point is, like, you know, what type of just average guy who owns a gun is actually going to be proficient in the heat of the moment, in under duress of essentially combat? Like, unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, that's why innocent bystanders.
Most people can't shoot a jumper with a hand in their face.
You included. We see you over there.